if you have to form a piece of brass into the chamber in your rifle, in other words, it doesn't come that way from the head stamp manufacturer of the brass, then it's a Wildcat. Otherwise, they would make brass for it. Like, for example, 280 Ackley was a Wildcat. Technically is a Wildcat, but it was a Wildcat for a long time before people made head stamp brass that said 280 Ackley improved. It wasn't they improved the shoulder on the 280, whatever it was. Do you remember what it is? 280 Winchester, Remington.
It can be
whatever fucking
280, 270, 30-06.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the 6.5 284 was a Wildcat for a long time.
Yeah.
They finally
So I mean, if you could buy 33XC, 37XC, these are, you can buy brass ready to go, which is one of the reasons I built the 33XC in the first place, was because rather than Fireform Lapua brass and the 338 Lapua improved, not only was the case longer, had more case capacity, but it came ready to go.
Welcome to the Shoot to Hunt podcast. As always, I'm your host, Ryan Avery.
Ryan Avery.
And my color commentator today is Jake Mushaney. Are you ready?
I've been ready since 9 a.m., sir. How fat is your ass today?
I knew that was coming, and I'm embarrassed.
You know, because you never want to say it can never happen. I mean, you know, the chances of getting violently murdered by a bunny are low, but never zero.
We're bringing up some straight bullshit. Dude, if it ain't hunting clothes, my wife buys it for me.
But your wife bought that color for you?
I just said, give me some Crocs.
She's just way too comfortable with your gayness then.
Gosh, I got a really long tongue. She's good. We fucking
Good Lord.
That was literally brought up. That podcast intro is brought up on Rockslide twice now.
Really?
Yeah.
What about it? What'd they say?
Well, there's multiple. And this guy reported, I put this picture up about my Crocs because I have a picture. And I said, shit. I am a fashion icon. I had this picture. And he reports me as clear picture of a man who kidnapped a woman.
You have that kind of look, I guess.
Yeah. And it's like, the guy's like, you know, real men shop for themselves. And I was like, if I wanted to shop for myself, I'd fucking be single. I'd grow out my skullet, put it in a fucking man bun, and move to San Francisco.
I think you get to the point, like you were making fun of me because I wear the same pants every fucking day, right? And generally it's the same shirt too, just a different logo from the business. But I wear the same 3X fucking same brand shirt, whatever's on the front of it. And I was wearing them 511 pants, but I just get used to it. And
you know who does that? Serial killers.
Really?
Yeah. You know who else does that? Dykstra. Same fucking clothes every time you see the man.
Yeah.
Then it puts the fucking thought process in your mind. Does that motherfucker wash his clothes?
I do wash my clothes. I just have a lot of pairs of the same shit.
So let's back up for your pants thing. Jake had me. I ordered him 10 fucking pairs.
They weren't all for me.
Okay, but this
technically I have 10 now.
Just think about this from the order side. 10 fucking pairs of First Light pants. There's so fucking many. First Light called and told me, you know, you ordered 10 fucking pairs of First Light pants. And I was like, yep.
Yeah. That was correct order. You know what? I've heard it said before, like, not that I'm a fucking Mark Zuckerberg or something, but they'll show like the Mark Zuckerberg and those type of guys, who's the Amazon guy? Jeff Bezos.
Bezos, yeah.
He's
Elon
a little flashier,
Musk.
but you'll start seeing the guys and you'll see them in public and they wear the same fucking junky shit all the time because it comes down to you make so many decisions on a daily basis. I don't want to decide about what I'm going to wear. There's a stack of pants and there's a fucking stack of shirts.
Easy choice.
Done.
I don't understand. I don't care about fashion. I don't like, you can look at me at any point in time and you think that I was either blind or drunk when I fucking got dressed.
The most fashion I get into is like, oh, it's going to be podcast today. You don't have your podcast shirt, but I go to look. I'll actually look through the shirt, right, and try to find the podcast shirt because it's going to be a podcast day.
Well, I guess I don't always think about the cameras.
Yeah,
but I always have we have our Shoot to Hunt hats on.
Yeah, that's right.
Mine's a little crustier.
It's because you literally put it in the fucking dishwasher.
Oh, no, it looks clean when I put it in the dishwasher.
That's the funniest thing ever.
I was laughing because like Brady Miller, he has this thing where he's doing his workout and he puts his hat post up.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And I was like, bitch, I don't even have to put a fucking workout on to have my hat look like this. I sweat this much standing.
I think that motherfucker's like 6'10", and he was saying he weighs like 170 pounds or something.
Ooh, yeah, he's got to
Yeah.
be 6'5", 6'6".
He's huge.
Yeah, 170 pounds. He's built like Cody,
Yeah.
Aubrey's boyfriend.
Yeah.
Yep. Hang glide on a Dorito. That's like old man fucking shit there.
So this morning I walk into, we got back from the gym and I walk in the fucking bathroom there and I tell my wife, I told my wife, I was like, fucking smells like a strawberry fart in here, right? And I'm laughing and she's like dead face and she starts trying to explain to me where the fart and the strawberry came from and how they got together. Like she's like, well, I was taking a shit, then I got done with that, and then I sprayed my perfume, and it's a strawberry perfume. I'm like, you could have just laughed at the strawberry fart. You didn't have to fucking explain it to me.
Trying to make sense of a joke.
Good Lord.
It's a classic woman thing.
I told her you're old as fuck.
Yep. I feel like like my thought process is like, am I a FUD? Am I yelling at a cloud?
Hopefully we get there someday. I'm looking forward to the point in life where you really don't care, you know, what you say to people and their opinion of you and walk around in your underwear and that kind of thing. I'm looking forward to the old man kind of say what you want to say whenever you want to say it.
Yes. I think I told you this. I went to garage sale. Old man going to buy something. And I offered him a price and he said, I'd rather throw it in the fucking trash than sell it for that price.
That's awesome. Blaine walked over yesterday. Speaking of old people, Blaine walks up and he's like,
Speaking of old people.
he's like, my little Dremel I had for the last 30 years finally quit on me. He said it just wound down. It was like, I said, well, you probably got your fucking money's worth, Blaine.
Yes.
He's like, yeah, I figured I'd just throw it in the trash rather than try to fix it.
Yes. Classic.
At what point, how old do you have to be to where you can say whatever you want and people don't hold it against you? They just say, oh, you're old. Well, how old do you think you got to be?
I don't think it's how old I don't think it's how old that your actual age. I think it's how you look.
How you look.
Yeah. Like if you're all disheveled and fucking like I would be, like fucking walking around, you know, your shit's you look like a homeless person. You could probably get away with a lot more than a dude that's in his mid 65s that's put together well.
Yeah.
So just think about like I'm bald, so like if my hair was all sculleted out and it's all fucking greased out with a greasy beard, you probably get away with a lot more because people don't know if you're sane or not.
Huh. Well, we ought to talk about some business at some point.
Yes, we're talking about Wildcats, but before we get there, we need help with our YouTube.
Please
Subscribe. We got to get to 1,000 to do anything cool with it.
We're at 600.
We're at 590, sir.
Fucking same difference. We're gonna try to stimulate the process a little bit here.
Economy.
So the economy, little stimulus has been done enough. We don't need any more stimulus.
We're over stimulus from the
paying
government.
for the stimulus at this point.
Yes.
We got some really good fucking news yesterday. Some news I've been waiting to hear because it's probably most important to me, right? But
No, it's a collective because we're in for a penny, we're in for a pound.
yeah, we all kind of went through the process together with the failures and the good parts. So the UM Premier rings that are replacing the failed hinged rings just passed the drop test yesterday. And it was some pretty good fucking news. And of course, Form had to call me and kind of giggle around the fucking point a little bit, trying to make me think they didn't pass, and then tell me that they passed. And we have this fucking drop test now on video. So what it comes down to is, imagine for a minute, you know, you knock your rifle off the side of your truck when you're just about to start your hunt, things like that. Well, we take the rifle and we're dropping on the scope from 36 inches 10 times on each turret cap. And we did this on video. And for that test, we were specifically testing the Premier rings. And we had the slightest amount of shift when we dropped it on it was the parallax side, right?
Almost always.
So when you drop it on the parallax side, it shifted it, I want to say it was 1/10 of a mil left.
At the 18, we dropped it. Oh, I don't remember. I'm confusing it with the Zico, so go ahead.
Okay. So basically dropped on the parallax side, we had a slight shift, less than an inch to the left, and then when we dropped it on the other side, it brought it back.
Yes.
So we had some lateral side movement. So we figured out that we needed to increase the clamp force. We did it a couple of different ways. We have a higher tensile strength screw, same screw, but now the 3/8 threads went to a 1/2 inch thread. So now we can clamp these at 65 inch-pounds at the clamp. And we also widened the recoil lug by 1/8 thou to take up some of that slack. So some of these, meeting a Picatinny standard for recoil lug thickness, basically instead of having all that slop back and forth We took some of that up. And again, that recoil lug is titanium, and the clamp will also be titanium. We're actually working through that right now. I'm going to have to buy a fucking plywood size sheet of titanium and then have
How
it.
thick?
It's the thickness of that clamp there. This thick. The
Like
main
3/8?
thickness there. Like, yeah, let's call it 3/8 thick. Yeah, we're going to have to buy a 4/8 sheet and then have it water jetted into strips so that it can be machined.
Wow.
So this is not going to be some powdered titanium or other bullshit. It's going to be straight grade 5 machined titanium, the same as the lug.
And it's cool on the process. So can you kind of back up to what failed at first and what you fixed? I mean, you kind of went through it, but we dropped it.
Yeah, so just to go all the way back to the hinge rings, just to tell the story from let's call it a first person perspective.
Right.
We approached a premium ring design without having any restrictions. Basically, we took kind of an open eye look at it, an outside of the box look at what did we want in a ring specifically for a hunting rifle. So one of those things was minimizing hardware, minimizing protrusions from the outside of the ring, and having a level that was built into the base where you didn't have to fuck around with the cap and try to get everything leveled up right.
Yes.
And then I didn't want to see any rust anywhere. They needed to be very lightweight. They needed to look good. And I believe the market was kind of ready for a new ring. There's kind of some standard rings out there that we use over and over and over again. So we come up with this hinge ring design. And every time if you just, and any guy that's listening right now, let's say you think something up and you want to physically have a prototype in your hand. The first step to this is you have to have a designer and engineer. You got to be careful with that because real engineers hate to be called designers, but my designer is also an engineer. Mm-hmm. And you have to convey your thoughts to him. He has to create a model of it in CAD and to spec. So like these Picatinny spec standards have to be integrated in. So some things you can't just make you can't make it however you want, right? They got to clamp to a pick rail. And then you look at it, and then you make changes here and there as you're looking at it in the model. Well, at some point, you have to actually make a prototype and test it. Well, to make a prototype on a CNC machine, you have to fixture it. You have to fixture it not for full production, but in a way that it's going to be machined accurately. So long story short, a prototype for a scope ring, for a complete scope ring that's rather complex, it can be somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 prototyping cost for one iteration. If you make a change after that requires it to be retooled, that is a new prototype. We went through 7 prototypes, and I just kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, trying to make this hinge ring work. I really wanted it to work. Obviously put a lot of money into it. We put a lot of time in testing, and we did test it. We didn't just let it go out the door without testing. You and I dropped my personal 33XC with these rings on there. It didn't lose 0, and I gave the go-ahead for production.
Yep.
And we produced 300 sets of rings. And as soon as they started going out the door, I started hearing issues immediately. And long story short, I decided to pull it all. We didn't send any more rings out. We emailed every single person that had pre-ordered them. Basically told them we're going to be coming out with a different design, one that we can have some faith in and so on. And anyway, so here's the Premier ring.
And that right there is, you knew, you bit the bullet. You knew you were going to lose money.
Cost me a lot of fucking money.
And a lot of people would have, I've seen it happen over and over again. They keep fighting the fight of making that, trying to make a hack to make that work. And that changed your whole philosophy on testing, did it not?
It did.
Yes.
It did. It was actually I learned a lot about, when we're prototyping and making new parts like this, I learned a lot about prints, about tolerancing, and also about proper testing before letting things leave. And by proper, it's not that we didn't test it. It just, the test that we're going through with form for drop testing, it is the most extreme test I think a part could go through. Your rifle's never going to go through that extreme of a test in reality, but it's testing it to its limits. And if I were to tell you and show you,
I think to its usable limits. That's right to the edge of where you going past that, you're just actually going to start breaking shit. I think so. That's what he has down is, me and you can drop something. He has it down to a cookie cutter process to where this is the result that I usually see. And it's not taking it to where you're actually breaking scope. You're breaking scope rings. You're breaking scopes. You're fucking up action screws. It's right to the limit.
And he's actually done it so much that when he drops it the first time and takes the next shot, if there's any issue, he can almost tell you exactly what it's going to be in the end. He could tell you as he's tightening. He told me when he was tightening up these new clamps on this ring for the second go, he's all, I could tell when I was doing it that it locked up and it was fucking solid. So you get enough experience with different rings, dropping different scopes and so on. But I think that it's not just the test he's going through, it's also the experience behind it and the amount of data.
Absolutely. And this goes back to why aren't the manufacturers doing this? And if they are doing it, you know the reason we know they're not doing it outside of a very few? They're not telling us they're doing it.
Yeah.
Because why would you not tell the population or the public if you were doing it?
We will have this shit on video.
Yeah.
You'll see it. I don't say I want to say I ruined a new NX8, but it has some some character now.
It's not pretty anymore. The NX8's fine. It's functionally.
Yeah, it fucking passed the test great.
Yep. And it's not as pretty as it once was.
So this ring now that we designed, it's lightweight. It's an inch wide. It has a titanium recoil lug, titanium clamp, and it's been through the actual drop test. It's been approved. And if I show you and told you what that ring went through, you're going to want it on your rifle. I mean, because why not? You know, there are a lot of great rings out there. We're not trying to I'll never bash any ring in any way, shape, or form. What I will tell you is what this ring went through to get to where it's at. And I basically just laid it all out for you. So once we do the marketing here, again, it's called the Premier Ring. It's already available and up on the site so you can see pictures and whatnot. These are going to be 30 mil 0.885 lows. We're looking at 8 weeks from now. So we're figuring out that sheet of titanium that we have to have water jetted or sawed. And they already ordered all. So these are 70-75 aluminum also. Almost every ring out there is not 70-75 aluminum. If you don't pay over $100 for a set of rings, I can guarantee you it's not 70-75. But most rings are not. So 70-75 the whole way through. And
why is it steel, the titanium over the steel clamp, just weight thing, or what's the reasoning for that?
It is a good amount of weight. It's about between the two clamps. If we do them out of titanium instead of steel, it's about a ½ ounce. We're already with titanium in the recoil lug, and titanium's just cool. We're already doing titanium muzzle brakes and so on. There's not really any other material that is going to have the strength of steel, but still able to lose some weight. So it's definitely more expensive.
Okay.
Definitely more expensive. But the rings are fucking awesome.
They are, and they look good. And they're different. They don't look quite the same as anybody else's.
Yes. So we got the Tika rings out there. We got the Premier rings now. And like I said, we are going to pick a YouTube subscriber of Shoot to Hunt every single podcast, and you can have your choice of ring sets, Tika or Premier.
Did we pick one this time?
We're gonna have to log into that. So you go into YouTube Studio and you can end up seeing your whole list of followers. But we're trying to grow that follower. So the only way you're going to win these rings for free is to just be a follower. And like I said, we're going to pick one every podcast.
Luke, look one of those up.
Yeah. Get in there in the studio.
And I want to hit on, while we're talking about rings, I want to kind of you to go through what was happening like with Crosley's ring so people don't keep doing that.
So we just finished a 20-minute install video, and I did get that little tidbit added in there. But basically for the Tika dovetail that's integrated into the action, all the way at the front, it starts to flare out. You have to make sure that the ring is clamping to parallel surfaces of that dovetail. If you get up into that little part where it widens out, you will deform your ring, deform the clamp. It actually held pretty good for him for a while still. But again, we have a new install video that Luke will be finishing up today. Today, if you're hearing this later, today is the 21st of September. It is going to be in the top of the product description of the rings. The Tika rings now come with threaded pins, so you have a multitude of installation positions. We go over that in the video. They also come with blue thread locker. All of our rings, no matter if they're Tika Premier or the new core rings that'll be next, they're all going to come with a little ampule of thread locker for you.
Every inch of that top is usable now.
It is.
To that rail.
And I added a picture of that in when you go to the product now, there's a picture of that action with all those fucking pins in there. But they're doing great. We haven't had any issues with Tika rings other than misinstallations, which I covered pretty much all the issues on the video. It's a very good video. I don't want to pat myself on the back, but
no, you did a good job.
I can make a pretty good video.
I'm so glad, dude. I've talked you into Tika. And then over tight, and because I got another one of these dudes the other day. Don't fucking over torque the level.
The level is 15 inch-pounds with blue Loctite. That's it. It's very easy. If you do have some issues there because you torqued it to 65,
the fucking thing doesn't weigh anything. You don't need 65 inch-pounds.
Yeah. We had some guys kind of going overboard with that. It's just aluminum, trying to keep it light.
That's
might
like
have to make
the
that out
nut.
of titanium.
If you think about it, that's like the nut on the freaking pick rail that locks the scope onto the pick rail 65. Yes. That little tiny nut, that little tiny screw does not need 65 inch-pounds.
Yes.
That's funny.
Pretty extreme. Yeah, so that's pretty much the Premier Ring story. Like I said, we're really excited. They passed the full test gamut, so we can go to production without with basically zero fears that there's going to be an issue.
Going to be sexy.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's talk pre-fits.
Pre-fit. So this is going to stem from, and I will apologize to whoever this. I won't name any names, but there was a guy who got me on DMs on Instagram, and we had posted a couple rifles, and he says, "Who makes those barrels?" And they're awesome, the make of the stock. So I tell him we have the barrels from Ace, and it's a Manners long-range hunter stock. He says, "Do you make pre-fits for impact precision?" I said, "Negative." He said, "Bummer." I said, "You could just send your action in." And he says, "So you can barrel the action then?" That's a great idea. I like that. And that's kind of the start for, I wanted to explain pre-fits, why pre-fits started, what is the difference between sending me your action and not sending me your action, and so on. So a pre-fit generally, so when CNC came around, the idea was that you would make a bunch of barrels at the same time. And for a good action that has guaranteed headspace, you could do all the gunsmith machining work without having the action present. And then you put them in stock, and then people order them. And in your garage, you have a barrel vise and a action wrench and a torque wrench. So the action wrench will slide into the lugs on the action. Your barrel vise holds the barrel, and then you torque that bad boy to, I want to say it's 120 foot-pounds. Don't quote me on that, what those guys do out there. I don't build the rifles. But you would be able to essentially garage mechanic that shit.
And they're running a no-go gauge in there, I imagine.
Most people probably don't, because they don't want to buy the go, no-go gauge. A lot of guys will just take a piece of brass, and if it chambers, they think they're good to go. We've had a number of so-called pre-fits come in the shop because headspace was wrong. If the headspace is too long, we can't do anything. If the headspace is too short, we can go in there and kiss the chamber and try to make everything okay. But the whole idea behind pre-fits is that idea that you put the barrel on yourself. You save some money because these were done on a CNC and not by a human being dialing the barrel in on a lathe. So that's the whole, background story to the pre-fit itself. And not all actions have guaranteed headspace, and even some that say they aren't. So, for example, Tikas, even though they're a cheap rifle, cheap action, Tikas tend to be on the spot.
Whoa.
They are cheap. I'm not saying they're not good quality.
Right.
Because you couldn't have guaranteed headspace
I like
without
inexpensive.
Inexpensive is a very politically correct word. That's right. It's an inexpensive action, but and only after we've built, 30 Tika rifles now, can we say that they're plus or minus a thou on the headspace. And my guys are confident in making a pre-fit. So we will say we will make a pre-fit for a Tika. We always have Tika actions here anyway. And yeah, we'll make a pre-fit for you on your Tika and whatever you want.
Can you explain? Because you literally, if they're doing the pre-fit route, and if they're like me, I am not a gun builder. I try not to work on anything that goes boom. I give it to you guys. I love shooting. I can tell you when shit's fucked up shooting. I'm not a gunsmith. I'm not a gun builder. What's too long or too short when you say on the chamber spec?
So there's a thing called a go, no-go gauge. Mm-hmm. When you slide the go gauge in like a piece of brass and you close the bolt should close. When you slide the no-go gauge in, the bolt should start to close but not close. This basically tells you when that explosion goes off inside your little chamber, your brass has a specification that it's built to. The brass expands to reach all the nooks and crannies of the entire chamber. That's called fire forming. And it has a min and max limit of headspace. Headspace for every cartridge but a belted mag is from the base to the shoulder. So it indexes off the shoulder itself. If you have a bad headspace barrel, you can run all kinds of issues, like you can't size your brass back down, you overexpanded your brass, you got clickers, you got all kinds of various issues with a poorly headspaced, out of spec headspace rifle. And it does happen.
So when you get one and you can fix it, what is the charge to the consumer? I'm kind of going somewhere with this, but what's the charge to
I mean, so we have to dial the barrel back in, which means it goes back in the lathe the same way it would be if we built you a new barrel. And the gunsmith has to very carefully go in there with a reamer and only take enough out to still get back to the same headspace, because the tenon threads, the threads that screw into the end of the action, the tenon threads, they're set. There's a depth there and a length of threads that's a set number. So if you imagine the reamer going into the chamber, again, you can't put material back, but you can take some material away.
Right.
Otherwise, we'd have to cut the end of the barrel off and start from scratch.
Gotcha.
Now, when I say we'll do a pre-fit for a Tikka, that will still be a manually built on a manual lathe, not in a CNC. We're not making 100 barrels. It'll be no different than if we built you the full custom rifle. We'll do it for Tikka and we'll do it for bat.
So like when you, I have never owned a pre-fit in my life because I'm not a gun plumber. So when you buy a Carbon 6 pre-fit, like what's the cost from the pre-fit to just buying a gunsmith blank?
I don't know what Gene over there is charging for a pre-fit. I imagine let's say it's $250 or $200 more. He's got them in fact, would you pull that up, Luke? Pull up Carbon 6's website. We can go in there and actually build a barrel and choose it. It'll tell us how much it is. He's doing it on a CNC. They're wrapping and doing their whole barrel process in the CNC, and they just, they ream it when it's in there. So it's relatively easy for them. But again, we are hand dialing in a barrel to a 10,000th of an inch of run out before chambering. And it's a delicate process. I mean, not to pat ourselves on the back, but we don't have bad shooting rifles that come out of here. These guys, they take their fucking job seriously. They're machinists at heart. They're perfectionists at heart, and they don't cut corners. And we see that because all the rifles shoot good.
Yeah,
but
like the 33XC.
Yeah, on a CNC, I can almost guarantee you they're not getting the same level of attention when they're being dialed in. And dialing in the barrel before you ream it, before you chamber it, is the most important part. There are a lot of other things going on, but if you don't dial it in right, it's not going to shoot straight.
Well, so I see on Rockslide constantly, and it goes back to like McGowan, not Carbon 6, but the McGowan blanks. And there's a few other blanks where guys will buy them and something goes wrong. So then they're into it for a higher price, pre-fit barrel. It's already been chambered, probably muzzled, the muzzle's been threaded. And then they got to go to a gunsmith and get that shit fixed. Yeah. And I wonder, and I'm sure obviously it works because the pre-fits wouldn't be there if it didn't work. Like Preferred, that's all they freaking do is sell pre-fits. But then you're into at least another $250.
So we charge $365 for a chamber and $135 for muzzle threads. So the total machining cost on a barrel today is $500, and barrel blanks from Ace are $340. So you're $840 into what you would call a pre-fit. Now, if you buy a proof pre-fit in a steel, I don't know what the price is, but you're going to save $100 or $200 or $300 by buying a pre-fit most of the time. And again, that goes back to the CNC deal.
Gotcha.
But we are $800. We are $840 for a manually machined perfect barrel.
And you can't gauge the clients, right? If the pre-fit was going to Jake's house, Jake's a technically minded dude. I am not a technically minded mechanical dude. You could fucking easily do a pre-fit and you probably know if it's me, I'm just going to bolt that fucker up and go start shooting and hopefully it works.
Yeah.
To where, you gotta quantify or qualify the buyer.
Yeah.
Well, you can't do that every pre-fit buyer.
Do you have a barrel vise? Do you have a go-no-go gauge? Do you have the proper action wrench for your action? Do you have a torque wrench that's calibrated?
Is the action you have, is it fucking in the tolerance? Because there's a lot of actions that are not. Yeah. I'm not a pre-fit fan.
So go, Luke, go to shop barrels and then build a barrel. Yep.
We're going through the Carbon 6 website.
Yeah, scroll down a bit. So it says 850 there. Keep going down. Okay, right here, blanker pre-fit. Let's go pre-fit. And just go 6.5 and then do a 6.5 PRC.
And they've really fancied this thing up from the start.
8 twist. Keep going down.
Are you getting a lot more of those questions about prefits just in general?
Yes, and that's why we're doing this. I just want guys to know what the difference is, what you're getting at one place versus another.
Sendero's fine. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Just pick some stuff.
250.
Yeah, they're just pick Remington 700 there. Oh. Yeah, 700. You're on it. 6.5 PRC at the top. Just go all the way down to the bottom for me. 850.
And what is a carbon 6 cost without that?
Oh, 650.
So you're paying $200.
You're paying $200 for the pre-fit part. So it's 500 for me. Actually, go back up. See if that includes muzzle threading.
I don't think it does it?
It might add some money there. Keep going right there. Yeah.
It's an upcharge.
Go there. Oh, not for the 5/8 24. It's still 850. Yeah. So with me, it's 500. With them, it's 200. So that's saving you $300. That's what guys are looking at.
But that's if it works.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't seem like it always works.
Well, we see the problem childs come in. We don't see all the ones that work well, but we do see the problem childs come in.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And I don't want to have to me, I'm not technical that way. So I just want to hand the fucking gunsmith a barrel and say, make this as best as you can make it so I can fucking hit shit 1,000 yards.
Most of the problem childs too that we've dealt with, when they come in, the customer doesn't actually know what the problem is. He'll describe some brass issue or something going on that's really weird. Like he can't size his brass back down. And by the time when we get done diagnosing it, turns out it was a pre-fit and it's too long. And, you go down that road with them. But they don't really know. And they're not using a torque wrench. They're not using go-no-go gauges for the most part. I mean, there are those that are, but...
Then you have two people to look at. Really, if you have to bring it to a gun builder, you have like three people you're looking at. Was the action out of spec? Was the pre-fit out of spec? Mm-hmm. And then when you put you're in a no-win situation as a gun builder. Were you the problem? Chances are you weren't, but you're still going to be the guy that has to have the solution.
And that's the big difference. Do you go back to Carbon 6? And Carbon 6 does a fantastic job, and we're not saying that Carbon 6 doesn't
I haven't seen any of it.
Yeah. So you have your action, you have your barrel, you're calling each company trying to figure out what's going on or how you're going to get it taken care of. That's the difference here. If you would have spent the extra $300, you have a door you get to walk through, and you can come in and talk to the gunsmith, and you can talk to the GM here or talk to myself, and we will help you figure out an issue when it's our rifle. It doesn't matter if it was an Ace barrel, Carbon 6 barrel. It doesn't matter what it was. We take full responsibility for that if there's an issue with the rifle. That's the difference you get for that money. And
you have it goes back to the person trying to troubleshoot it may not be able to have the knowledge to troubleshoot it. When you bring it in here and it goes to you and Blaine and Taylor, you're going to have a solution and you're going to be able to remedy it quick.
It's just a mechanical thing.
Yeah. Which you see these big long threads, it's not just on rock slide, but they have this issue and then it comes back to this, it was a pre-fit and it's on like, and I'm not knocking on it. I just see this action brought up all the time. It's the Curtis actions. And they were out of spec for a while. I don't know if they still are. I have no idea, but there was, so the Curtis is blaming the pre-fit barrel company's blaming the action. So you can get in a real shit spot to where I'll fucking always say this. If you have a gunsmith that's a quality gunsmith local, go to that gunsmith because it's freaking easy button.
Yeah. And if it's not that type of, it needs to be that environment where you can walk in, and get your stuff handled. Not a finger pointer. Oh, it's something over here. Oh, it's something over here. Oh, your barrel's not shooting because you didn't do load development or this or that. We talked about that before. If the gun's gonna fucking shoot, it in the first 10 rounds.
Absolutely.
So you can't tell me that the gun shot 6 inches and all of a sudden it's gonna get fixed with load development. So yeah.
Yeah, and then, but there is like that old curmudgeon gunsmith that's a pain in the ass to deal with anyway. So I get that. But if you have a quality gunsmith, go. A lot of
times, if the guy is really cranky like that and he's still in business, a lot of time it's because he knows what the fuck he's doing. So he may be difficult to deal with, but more often than not, you're going to get a quality rifle built from him whenever it gets to that point.
You got to smooth him, take him a coffee, say, "What's up, Fred?"
Fred.
All right. Anything else on the pre-fits?
No. So that was pre-fits. And the other thing that can be difficult to understand for guys is the whole Wildcat game.
Wildcatting.
And we just talked about this before we started podcasting. But basically, if the brass is not shot in your rifle in the head stamp form that it comes in.
This is the definition of wildcatting.
Yeah, so if it's not if you have to form a piece of brass into the chamber in your rifle, in other words, it doesn't come that way from the head stamp manufacturer of the brass, then it's a Wildcat. Otherwise, they would make brass for it. Like, for example, 280 Ackley was a Wildcat. Technically is a Wildcat, but was a Wildcat for a long time before people made head stamp brass that said 280 Ackley improved. It wasn't they improved the shoulder on the 280, whatever it was. Do you remember what it is? 280 Winchester, Remington.
It can be
whatever fucking
280, 270, 30-06.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like the 6.5 284 was a Wildcat for a long time.
Yeah.
They finally
So I mean, if you could buy 33XC, 37XC, these are, you can buy brass ready to go, which is one of the reasons I built the 33XC in the first place, was because rather than Fireform Lapua brass into 338 Lapua improved, not only was the case longer, had more case capacity, but it came ready to go, which is a big deal.
Did I tell you about my 33XC?
Yes, it's a hammer. I know.
Unknown built me one.
It's like fucking 1 inch at 650.
It's fucking 1 inch at 650 yesterday.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Ryan loves that shit.
Not a one-shot group. It was 3. Form would be mad at us, but it's a 3-shot.
You needed to shoot 10 at
but
least.
it's I already did that. So it's already been qualified. This fucker stacks him on top. I shot the group, and Nick, who does load dev, has seen a lot of, she's like, whoa. He's like, that's a hell of a group.
Well, hopefully you don't sell that fucking one.
No, that
Yeah, you keep
is
that one.
I'll give you my word. That will never go down the road.
Good deal.
Because it's the best. Not only is it the best shooting rifle UM's ever produced, it's by far the best looking rifle UM has ever produced.
Well, that's a long range fucking hitter too. Like you can take that when you're unsure of how far you're gonna have to shoot.
10. It has some pop.
Yeah.
10.5 pounds, but I spotted 2 of the 3 at 650. So
nice.
So it's getting there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a beaut. 24-inch barrel doing 3120, 300 grain bullet.
Man. So a 33XC is a good example to start with. You can buy Whitten dies in 33XC from David Tubbs' website. You can buy XC brass from either Peterson. Actually, I think you can only get it from Tubb. I could be wrong on that one. And it can be chambered in 33XC. So you have a chamber and brass and dies that all match that you can purchase. To me, that's not a Wildcat.
No.
If you have to form the shoulder on a 338 Lapua case into 338 Lapua improved, there is no Lapua improved brass out there that's not turned from a company that just went bankrupt. There's no 338 Lapua improved brass that you can buy. RCC was the one I was talking about. They just went bankrupt, went out of business.
So what is, it's kind of getting off topic, but what is the appeal?
When you improve a shoulder, so if a case has a 25 degree or a 30 degree shoulder, by blowing the shoulder out further, you increase the case capacity. So I'll take the 6.5 SAUM Improved as an example, because we just measured Jess's rifle and we just checked how much powder it can hold. The 6.5 SAUM Improved to the bottom of the neck is holding 68 grains of N565. That's what we were putting in the fucking 7 PRC. So the case, the body walls being almost parallel, the sharp shoulder, make that case hold as much as a 7 PRC, which is much longer. So more powder equals more power.
And if you believe P.O. Ackley, that 40 degree shoulder, the term inherently accurate, and very very little case stretch. The case doesn't grow much.
Yep. I mean, a Lapua, in our experience, a Lapua improved is easier to tune than a standard Lapua. Just generally, they just fucking hit. Almost always, when you do a Lapua improved, the fire forming loads shoot fantastic, and then they only get better once they're formed, just like Jess's rifle. So her rifle shot a 0.6 10-shot group and a 0.7 10-shot group with the fire forming fucking loads. Now it's just going to hammer.
Yeah, and we talked about this on a previous podcast, talked about it with Form, talked about it with Nick. Generally, if that fire forming load shoots, the fucking rifle will shoot when you get to the full house load. So
wildcatting, so you make up a spec for a case.
Like 6 UM.
Like 6 UM. So we took a case that was 6.5 SAUM, necked it down to 6 millimeter manually, and we sent a dummy round to JGS and said we want a 40-degree shoulder because it didn't have that. We want a 40-degree shoulder on this dummy round that we just sent you. They draw up a reamer. You wait 3 months to get the reamer. You chamber a rifle. You fire a round through that chambered rifle. Now you have a fire-formed piece of brass. You can then, so you can do custom dies several ways. With Whitten, you can send 3 pieces of fired brass and they'll make you custom dies. Or you can send them a chambering reamer and a resizing reamer, and they'll use those to make the dies for you. But you have to have your chamber in your rifle, your formed brass, and your dies all match. Once that happens, it's technically not a Wildcat anymore. You have everything you need for your rifle. It can be anything you can imagine. Mm-hmm. That's the process to get to a final solution. So now you have this brass that you fire formed, however many pieces that you want. So your chamber's good, your brass is formed, and then your dies match your brass or your reamer. So you can resize the brass back down to whatever it is. And that's the Wildcat process.
So let's go like pros and cons on this, because the pro is you're going to get exactly what you want out of the case you want, and generally with the bullet and speed you want. The downside is there's a pretty good expense to it, and you have, like we found with the UM, we have the 6UM, we have to tweak. You have to tweak as you go from shit that you didn't think or you didn't see beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, so the 6UM initial reamer issue was more a communication failure between JGS and us. Basically, they took the rim thickness as it was on brand new brass instead of what it should have been for the SAMI spec. It is what it is at that point.
It goes back to the same thing like the Hornady has with the 6.5 PRCs, but we're addressing it to where they still haven't addressed it.
Yes. Yeah, we're fixing the reamer up front.
Yep.
Yep. And the new reamers are here, so.
Yeah. I just actually posted online, and it's basically 4 thousandths different at the 200 line.
Yes, exactly. So, I mean, a Wildcat in general, so you can get as much performance as you want. You can make it shoot any bullet you want. You can make it as overbore as you want. In other words, the least amount of barrel life to the most amount of barrel life. There's just, almost unlimited control over what you could do with a rifle. And it's more expensive, especially if you're doing a reamer yourself. A reamer, $250. And then with any Wildcat that you have to form, you're basically wasting the whole first set of ammo. So if you're doing a 338 Lapua improved and those are $6 a round new, you're paying that $6 a round and then paying to have them reloaded before you get to shoot the first time. So if you do 100 cases, that's $600. We charge $1 a piece to process brass, so that's $700. Then we're going to reload it for however much money, $3 a piece, whatever, and then you finally get to shoot it.
Yeah.
So I guess, it depends on how you look at it and what you're doing with your rifle. But I mean, guys are doing like BR variants, BRA, BRX, BR fucking whatever. And I think Alpha Munitions might make some of the different variants as a head stamp type of brass, but in all reality, all the BR variants are all Wildcats.
Yeah, when I hear Wildcat, that means you're taking a case and you're getting the maximum velocity, the maximum performance out of that case.
It could be easier too. It could be like a 25-06.
Yeah.
So there is some head stamp brass that came from Norma for that, and maybe from what's the B word? Brass. Bertram.
Yeah.
I think they made some brass too that's head stamp, but changing the bullet caliber, for example, like so it's a 7/308 or a 7 MM08. That was a bad example because that actually exists.
Yeah.
A 6 SAUM. Even if we didn't improve the shoulder and you just necked it down, it's still a Wildcat.
Yeah, there's a bunch of 6 PRCs out there.
6 PRCs, any different fucking variety of 6 PRCs. We chose the SAUM case again because the SAUM has more case capacity than a PRC does to start. Some people say there's not good brass for it, but ADG brass is fantastic.
Anybody saying that is just an idiot and hasn't used it. I mean, truly.
Yeah.
Like, I've had more issues with other brass. I've had more issues with the famed Lapua brass than I have with ADG.
So that's Wildcatting. And,
we need to have Whaley say how he has like a, wow, I can't even do it.
Says it funny?
Wildcat. Like, Whaley says, ain't nothing easy wildcatting.
We need to get him all buzzed up and get him in here one day.
We've got to get Matt Whaley in here.
Matt, if you're listening one day, we'll handcuff you, drag you in here.
Here's my question to you about Wildcat round. what do you think is the perfect Wildcat round that's out there?
That's a tough question. I think picking the perfect Wildcat is no different than picking the perfect other cartridge. I think you could do a whole bunch with all the cartridges that are out there with low development.
Yeah. 338 Lapua Improved is probably
it's one of the most
one.
popular. Yeah, definitely popular.
The 280 is pretty much commercialized now. I don't consider that a Wildcat.
Because of the head stamp brass part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, 6UM's too early. Like
I think this 6.5 Somme, if this 6.5 Somme Improved pushes 156s out of a 20-inch barrel to 3,100 feet a second, it's pretty badass.
Yeah.
Or the 6.5/7 PRC Improved. I got several guys emailing about that. They just want to hear the numbers before they put a rifle build in.
Well, then if you ask Nick, it would be the 25. What's he call it?
It's a 25 Somme.
It's
right?
a 25. No, two iterations. He has a 25 Somme.
Yeah.
And he has the 25. It's off a 260 case. 35 degree shoulder off 260 case. And that little sucker's shooting a 134 out of a 22-inch barrel at 31 plus. He calls it the quarter pounder. That's what he calls it. The quarter pounder. So he's getting a face tattoo.
Fucking the golden arches there.
The golden arch is going to be like, what's that singer's name that has all the tattoos on his face?
We just Post Malone.
Post Malone.
Yeah.
Yep.
Post Malone, if you're listening, I did DM you on Instagram, said let's build you a rifle.
Post Malone would make bet you he'd come up with a eclectic looking rifle.
Could be pretty badass.
We're gonna have to put a big old pot leaf on the back.
Yeah.
Oops.
He's been losing a bunch of weight. Everybody's accusing him of doing drugs and all kinds of shit.
Who cares? You live your life. Ain't our problem.
Mm-hmm.
What's this rifle about on the table?
Rifle we just finished up. This is a 7 PRC plus P. Let me see here. It's got the Vesper action. It's got a fluted steel barrel on it. 22-inch 8 twist. Manners long range hunter. Unknown munitions bottom metal and mag. Hawkins ultralight rings. Night Force NX8. 432 F1. An Atlas Cal bipod. And what is that suppressor down there?
Dead Air. I can't remember the name of the actual. It's
Dead Air
Air
Nomad TI.
Nomad.
Yeah, Dead Air Nomad TI. Don't excuse the brown color on the can because I'm not sure that we did that.
I would hope you didn't.
Oh, I know why. It's because that's air cure.
Oh, did you guys do
That's the
it?
high heat air cure. We may have.
It changed that much?
Maybe.
And it's supposed to be like that brown color?
Well, I mean, air cure, that's a different series of Cerakote versus the H series.
7 PRC?
7 PRC plus P. I don't remember the specs on the load dev itself, but
You're building a lot of 7 PRCs.
dude, we have a giant barrel rack, and fucking 6.5 barrels are not moving. 7 barrels, we can't keep them. 30 cal barrels, we can't keep them. When we're building these Tika rifles, 7 PRC and 300 WSM are the two best sellers. It's also the ones that we would pick, right? Like I would want one of those two. But 7 PRC is doing very well this year. What do you know? For those of you,
What do you know?
what do you know? For those of you that are still looking for brass, we did. So if you had pre-ordered the Peterson brass, what day? I got to give them the right dates here. So when they're listening, today is the 21st. We have 50,000 pieces of Peterson 7 PRC brass shipping to us on the 28th. So it's coming on a truck, couple pallets worth. It'll take probably till the end of the first week of October, around the 6th to get here. But we only sold 30% of that. So there's going to be a lot of Peterson brass going in stock. So pay attention around that time. You may hear this podcast around that time anyway. So if you're looking for Peterson brass, it's coming. Or 7 PRC brass anyway, right?
Yep.
ADG's not doing a run for a bit, so this will probably be the only good brass that comes out for a while.
Perfect. Yeah, that's a good looking rifle. That Vias always looks good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Vias.
Yeah, Mike does a good job back there.
Yes,
we got a new guy coming in. He's starting. New guy starting. He's coming over from Weatherby. Been at Weatherby for 5 years. He's starting on the 6th. No. The 9th, October 9th.
Luke, we need a name to give away for our subscriber.
Oh, it's texted.
I must have texted you because I don't have it.
Oh, shit. Your phone.
Oh, shit, I guess I do have it.
I think you just play that game where you think your phone don't work so you don't have to answer text
Dude, my phone
messages.
keeps dying. That's why I ordered a new one.
Huh.
Luke, Griffiths.
One more time.
Griffiths.
That's not bad.
Griffiths.
Luke Griffiths. You are
Say it one more time.
Griffiths.
Luke, why'd they put an S on your last? Why'd you put an S on there?
You are the receiver of any set of scope rings.
Yep.
Email us, marketing@shoottohunt.com. We also have now podcast@shoottohunt.com, marketing@shoottohunt.com.
Yep. And I got a text this morning about the shooting class, about if it's full. I think we're down to 4. Luke, are we down to 4? We have 4 spots left out of the 12. So if you're going to come, you better get on it.
That's in June in Montana.
June 17th. We had to move it back a week. We've updated the site. We're going to email all the people that have paid a deposit. June 17th.
That's the 5-day shooting school with Form. You guys are hearing Form on the podcast here. So that's the guy that'll be teaching you. And he's a badass.
And we will, I've gotten lots of PMs. We'll have Form back on again. We've made it so he will be around for a long time.
Yes. Exclusively. Form.
The foreman, Macho Man Randy Savage will be back.
Form's not going to get whored out to the other guys.
No.
He better be exclusive.
Exclusivity. He's going to hear this and go, you sons of bitches.
Nice. Yeah, 4 spots left, and then that'll be it for the next year. And then once this one's sold out, we're going to start taking a wait list for the following year. And maybe we'll talk them into a couple the following year.
I'm biased, but I'm going to tell you right now, don't matter if you've been to a shooting school or you've shot your whole life, you will learn a shit ton at this class. Anything else, sir?
That's it.
If you want to get a hold of us, it's podcast@shoottohunt.com, and thanks for listening.